Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today we're going to take a look at Berlin's collection. It's a very small collection, but it's one that has a lot of interesting features in it. And it's one that led to something else that I think would be a lot of fun for all of us to take a look at. So we'll get started. The first watch in Berlin's collection is a Seiko SARB033. This particular watch I really like it. I'm not a fan of black dial because I have a hard time seeing the contrast, but this has got good contrast. It's got the indexes, and then it has sort of this light turquoise colored on the hands. It's a very nice watch, and it's the kind of thing. It'd be a very versatile watch. The nice thing about black dials is they can go with a formal thing for some reason, and yet at the same time it'd be a good everyday office watch. So this is a nice one, and Seikos are a fairly reliable kind of watch. They're a good tool watch. I'll put it that way. This is an automatic 21 jewels. Got the at 3 o'clock. It's got the little date window there, and this is just sort of a nice standard Seiko. Very attractive watch, I think. Now this next watch is a very interesting Rolex. It's called a 1601 Sigma Blue Dial. And I was looking at the dial closely, and the dial is chingered up in a few places, little scratch marks where some of the paint came off, and then around right where the indexes hit those little gold balls at the top. If you look around there, some of it's coming off there too. And I looked at some of the other ones, and this one is in really good shape comparatively. That's very typical of this particular watch for the blue to get chippy around there. I don't know why. And this is a nice watch. I like it. I like the color for one thing, and it's just again, it's one of these good solid watches. And then you take a look at that the Cyclops window. It looks a little scratched up. There are not a lot of these around. I really had to dig to find a number of these so I could compare what's going on with the dial and so forth. But this is it's a kind of thing. A few little things on it, but it's and generally, the outside seems to be in better shape than inside the glass on this one. And the hands are in perfect shape as far as I can see. You got the black hands with the white tips for the minutes and hours. Then you have that silver center second. This is a watch I like. It's another one in Berlin's collection that has that's an interesting one. I've never seen this particular model before, this 1601 Sigma Blue Dial. I like the color blue, too. It's got sort of a touch of gray in it, maybe. Okay, moving right along. This one is a Longines Admiral, and Berlin had a note about it. He said that when the crown is pulled out, the second hand keeps going until it hits 12, and at that point it stops, and so you have a type of hacking or stop seconds at that point, and so then you can synchronize your watch with your computer or somebody else's watch or something like that. That was sort of a neat surprise. This is a beautiful watch. This is again one of those watches, and I think all of Berlin's watches are this way. They're very versatile. This one would work as an evening sort of a dress-up watch, a tuxedo watch, or it would be or it would work very well as an office watch, something you wear every day at the office. And it's attractive, but it's not flashy, and that's a nice looking watch. And I like that little feature about it with the hacking at 12 o'clock only. That's a new one. Okay, the final watch is a Tissot automatic small seconds. Now, I think they still have these. I was looking around for this. This is from 1953, so this is a pretty old watch. And the thing about this watch that is just gorgeous are the lugs. Look at the lugs, especially around, if you look at the one around 8 o'clock, where you can see it almost looks like a musical note that somebody took. And these lugs on here are very, very attractive. The dial seems to have a lot of patina. I like the way the small seconds have chipped the 5 and the 7 and sort of put over the 6. This is the kind of look on a watch I have. This one is a tad banged up, but that's okay. I mean, this is an interesting watch. This is a watch. Of all of the watches, if I had to take one to go to a watch show with, this is one I'd take because it's interesting. It's unique. To me, it doesn't look like an everyday watch, but it looks like a watch that'd just be sort of fun to have. And look at the lugs and some of the other parts of it too. Like I said though, it's not in pristine shape. Speaking of older watches, I've got on my Patek Philippe. This is from July 4th, 1968. And I was fortunate, and the person who had it before me took extremely good care of it. I don't think they wore it very much, to tell you the truth. But this watch, this Tissot automatic small seconds. Now, having said that, let me take you into a modern, a brand new Tissot that I happen to like a lot. And this is the Tissot small seconds. Now, the thing I like about it, first of all, it's hand wound instead of automatic. I like those. It's got a gigantic exhibition window on the back, and you can see the big old Unitas ETA 6498-1. And the price, this is the price from the one I saw at Joma Shop. It was priced at $620. Now, one of the interesting things that I found out about this particular model, and then they also had one on the Tissot website, was that they got the movement wrong. This is a 6498, and they mentioned it as 6497. Well, 6497 has the small seconds at 9 o'clock, so who cares? Most people won't notice it. But this is a movement I like, and I like it for two reasons. One, it's a nice big one that you can see. It's not cut away very much, but what you can see, you can get a good view of the general movement. But I like the 6498-1 is 2.5 hertz, or 18,000 vibrations, or quasi vibrations per hour. It's a very slow ticking watch, but I think we saw in one of the other videos, all of the top watchmakers have this slower beat. Now that means that you're not going to beat it up as much, so you're going to have a longer term between when you have to have some work done on it. Now, this watch, sort of an interesting thing about this watch, in 2018, Tissot came out with a watch that was almost identical except for one thing, and this is called the Tissot Heritage Anti-Magnetique. Okay, and this was announced at the Basel show in 2018, and one of the early reviews of it said, "Oh, this is all of the reviewers seemed to like it, except this one in Hodden said, well, it says it's anti-magnetic, but it's not." And I just love that for some reason. I mean, this is a heritage of one of their early first anti-magnetic watches. They call it the Anti-Magnetique. It's got one of my favorite movements in it. It's very affordable too. I think the list price on this was $9.95. But what happened? It disappeared. Now, they did make these, they announced it as limited editions, but you know, limited editions with some of these, you have a lot of watches. So here's what I decided to do. I thought, well, look, you know, this is interesting. I'm going to see if I can find some of these. Now, I found plenty of the, what they simply call the Tissot small seconds, but I couldn't find any with this anti-magnetique on it. Now, this is exactly the same watch as the one we just looked at, except it says underneath Tissot it has anti-magnetique in French. And so I thought, oh, I wonder why that has disappeared. And I went looking for it. I was looking for it online and to find one for sale. Couldn't find one. I found there was this English site that had them listed, and then they had this little red thing. We don't have any at the moment. And so I thought, wow, you know, maybe this is one of those watches that, you know, they put it all together. They're going to have this big thing for anti-magnetique. The guy in Haddon Key says, oh, well, they're not anti-magnetic. I thought, what a cool watch. They're making, this is a sort of a homage to their first anti-magnetic watch, and it was called anti-magnetique. They used the French term. But it was, the original was anti-magnetic. Now, they had a different movement in it, and this is a homage to it. And so the guy who wrote the review in Haddon Key said, well, he was upset because Tissot does have some good anti-magnetic watches, and I'm going to do this. And so I guess, you know, somebody at Tissot said, look, guys, you know, we're going to be the laughing stock. Here we have a heritage anti-magnetic, and it's not anti-magnetic. Well, I thought this was delicious. This is a fun watch. And let me tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of the inverted Jenny. These were postage stamps, and they somehow in the printer they put on this an old biplane called a Jenny, and they put it on upside down, and so you had, and they became incredibly valuable. And so I'm thinking, wouldn't that be cool if these were? And so I'm gonna keep an eye out, see if I can find one, because I have not been able to find one. Now maybe somebody else, you know, sort of got wise to that. Say these are limited edition, but these are really limited because Tissot decided, man, we better get these off the market before we're embarrassed by the fact that it says anti-magnetic and they're not. The guy who wrote the review in Haddon Key sort of had said, well, I guess the Swiss aren't, you know, since it's a homage to this watch, it doesn't actually have to be anti-magnetic. I don't know, but I thought that was sort of a cool thing, and so maybe, you know, we'll end up with you know, sort of like the inverted Jenny. Here we have a watch that they decided, oh, we better take it off the market. And even though some I hope got out, because oh boy, that would be fun to have. Okay, now let me go back to Berlin's collection. This would be one watch I would recommend. The modern automatic version with the small seconds, for some reason all of the dials are in black. They're it's attractive in that respect, but it doesn't have those cool lug arms on it. It doesn't have the lugs that have the musical note shape to it. They're just sort of straight up lugs. And so I thought, well, you know, if you want a cool watch, I would add one of these, one of the small seconds. If you can get the anti-magnetic one, yeah, go ahead. But I don't think they're going to be, they seem to have gone sort of wildly out of unavailability. By the way, another mistake I found, the Joma shop. The Joma shop ad for the watch for the small seconds, what they just call Tissot small seconds manual wind. For the type of movement, they had quartz, and then for the name of it, they had ETA 6498, which is the correct one. There were two different mistakes just on this one watch. I don't know what people are thinking. And so, in terms of recommending, so that would be one watch. That'd be a fun watch. It's very affordable. And I was looking at looking at Berlin's collection. It's just a very affordable collection too. So I thought, well, I'll recommend something affordable. The other thing, and I know this may sound funny, but with a name like Berlin, you got to have a German watch. And I would suggest a Tutima. Get a nice Tutima or a Sen, one of those. I think it'd be fun to have. A pilot's watch would go very well with this collection that you have. Okay, well, listen, I'd really like to hear what your opinions are, what you think, and say, hey, I think this would be a cool one. And keep in mind the nature and the scope of Berlin's collection when you're making it. It's going to say, hey, you know what, I'd get a do for simplicity. We all would like one of those. All right. Anyhow, well, listen, as always, it's an invitation to subscribe if you'd like. And until next Friday, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.